All right, so pretty cool, right? You guys saw the decoys moving. You're getting a lot of really lifelike swimming action and covering a lot more water than just a normal jerk rig. And I thought the idea was so good that maybe I should patent it, you know, and then like have somebody manufacture it and then mark it up like everything else in duck hunting, and then make a ton of money, or maybe sell it to one of the bigger companies and just have them pay me a lot of money. But then I thought, you know what, that sounds like a lot of work and I ain't about that. So instead I thought, you know what, I'll make a YouTube video, teach you how to make your own, and then you guys could just like the video and comment and share it with all your friends and social media and just support me that way, and that's way cheaper for you and better for me. Anyways, so let me show you guys the components. The bar, the pole itself is just 1/2-inch EMT conduit. You can get it at any hardware, electrical supply, home improvement store, but it does come in like a 10-foot stick. So you got to be able to haul that, or bring a hacksaw with you, cut it in half, or have them cut it in half, and then it'll fit in your car. But you really probably only need like 3 to 4 feet. I have this one cut at about 5 feet because I was hunting in some deeper water. But really, most of us are, you know, hunting inside knee deep water. So just cut it however long you need it. And then the reel. This is a clothesline retractor reel for drying clothes in your backyard. That's all it is. If this is about $20 at Home Depot. I have this one here I found on Amazon for $16. They both hold 40 feet of line, but this one is a little bit smaller, and I haven't used it out in the field yet, but it was pretty powerful when I pulled the line out of it. I will leave an Amazon link for that below for all of the pieces, and then those are Amazon affiliate links, so if you do purchase the item through that link, I will get a little commission. That's another way you can support the channel. But if you don't want to shop at Amazon, I understand. Anyway, so after you've got the reel, the line that comes on it is like this plastic line. It's white, so you have to replace it with something more, you know, stronger and more durable, and it's not white. So I will show you after this section on how I replace it, but I just replace it with paracord. And on that I put a carabiner that not only allows you to attach your decoy rig to this, but it also keeps your line from getting sucked up into the reel and losing your lines, because if it gets sucked up in there, you're going to have a heck of a time trying to get it out. You probably just have to replace the unit. The pole on that reel, I attached 2 of these EMT conduit hangers. I got these at my local hardware store. Every place that I found that sells EMT electrical conduit also sells these hangers, and they're cheap. They're about 80 cents a piece. You can find them on Amazon and other online places, but you have to buy them in like bulk to get, you know, free shipping and all that stuff. So you'd have to buy like 12 or 20 of them or whatever it is, and you only need 2. So they come with a carriage bolt with them, but I replaced the nut on that bolt with a wing nut. Got it at the same hardware store. It's just a 1/4 bolt, so they're easy to find, a little wing nut. And how you use this is you put the pole in the mud, and you put this on the pole, and you slide it down to the water, and then you tighten up your wing nut till it's nice and tight. I just tighten the top one because it isn't going to go anywhere. There's two though. And then that allows the line to go out into the water and pull your decoys back and forth. You can put this underwater if you don't want this showing, but these are not waterproof. I mean, they're not stainless in any way. The spring inside is just regular old spring steel. It is going to rust. I thought I'd let you guys know these are only going to last you 1, maybe 2 seasons if you like dry them out thoroughly after every use. But they're not going to last years and years and years of use, because I couldn't find any that sold like a stainless outdoor marine kind of grade one. They're all just like, you know, you put them on your house under your eave, you pull them out in the summertime to dry your clothes, you put them away, and you know they might last a few years out in your house under that use. But just the water that's going to collect on this cord and being pulled in and out is going to get water inside. Just thought I'd let you guys know. So once you have that built, you can use the Decoy rig that you probably already own. So if you have a jerk rig, you just hook that rig up to this carabiner instead of the bungee and anchor like you normally would, and then you can use it to pull and get that swimming action back and forth up to 40 feet, which is probably way farther than most of us are ever gonna use. I really only pull it maybe 10, 20 feet back and forth. So once you have your rig, I use a Decoy spreader rig like you saw in the video, and I'll tell you how I hook to that. But I have my pull line is on this dive reel. These dive reels are very handy for managing your line. So on a normal Decoy jerk rig, you know, it comes with the line, but it's usually on one of those kite string wrap things, so you have to hand wind. This one's really nice because you can attach this to your rig. You hold down this thumb lever, which lets this free spool, and just walk back to your blind. You don't have to unwrap it and walk backwards or anything. You just trail it behind you and walk back to your blind. And then when you're done at the end of the day, you just reel it back up. It manages all your line. These are not that expensive. I think this one's like $18 on Amazon. Again, link below. But the line that comes on it is plenty strong, but it's white. So I bought some just Decoy line, it was called. It was not expensive. It came like a whole bunch of it on a roll. So I just re-spooled it with that, and there's way more line on here than I will ever use pulling this Decoys back and forth. So if it gets a little frayed or worn, I can just pull it off, clip it, reattach my anchors or my clips, and I'm ready to go again. On the end, I like to use like 5 feet of a leader on here with a little loop on the end. And what that does is it stops my decoys from getting pulled all the way back up to the reel, because I don't want the decoy to clap into the reel and make any noise or anything. And then I just tie a little dropper loop and put a heavy duty swivel on it. It's not going to hold a lot of weight, but it's still like a, I don't know, 130 pound swivel or whatever it is. And then for my rig, I set up a Decoy spreader rig, and it's just a 4 duck rig, but I put one in the center on the hub, and then I attach this swivel to one of the outside decoys on one of the arms. And what that does is it makes that, when I reel the rig towards me, that duck on the end of that arm swings out and around and points towards me, and it kind of causes, you saw in the video, it kind of looks like they're swimming in a circle, and that's what causes that. That duck decoy that I added in the center off the top of the hub, I just cut a little piece of paracord and put a swivel on it. It creates a pivot point, so all the ducks will spin around that center duck. And then I reel it towards me, and then they all kind of straighten out, swim in a straight line, and then when I release and it gets retracted back, that duck that's the first one in line wants to swing back around and get pulled towards the retractor, and it makes it look like they swim around in a circle again. So you get a really cool figure 8 if you just pull back and then retrieve and back and forth. So you get that swimming circle action, and you get those really cool ripples from the swimming action that makes the V ripples instead of just round ripples. And then you don't get that jostling. A lot of times with a jerk rig, it kind of looks like your ducks are panicking if you jerk it too much, and that might turn some ducks off. So you just get this natural swimming action. Another really cool thing about this reel is that I hunt out of a kayak. And so when I was trying to use the regular jerk rig, I'm sitting there in the kayak trying to jerk that thing, and the flaps on my layout are bobbling up and down, and the kayak itself is jostling, and my kayak's moving way more than my decoys were ever moving, and of course the ducks are going to see that, and it just wasn't working. But with this, when I've walked all the way back to my kayak and I get in, this is all the movement I have to do to get those ducks to swim towards me. I just reel them right towards me. And then when I want them to go back, I just hit this thumb button that free spools, and they just swim back. And I don't have to jerk or do any kind of movement. That's it. That's all I have to do. And that'll work for you out of your blind, or maybe you don't have a blind. Maybe you're just sitting in the cattails or something, and you don't want to be over there jerking on the thing either. Another really cool thing that you can do is, I can sit in my kayak or in the blind, reel the decoys up towards me, and then let go of the thumb button, and then that will lock it in place, and it can't be retracted back. So I can sit there and call and call and call, and when I hear or see ducks starting to work the decoys, all I have to do to get them moving, the decoys, is hit this thumb button, and then the decoys start going backwards. I don't have to keep jerking and reveal myself, and I can keep calling with one hand, and the ducks are moving with the other without making any kind of big movement, and that's really, really cool. The only issue with this dive reel is that it's loud if you don't do it right. So if you let go of this button while it's moving, you hear that big click, or if you reel it without pushing that down, it makes that clicking noise. And so you don't want that, but it's really easy to run the thumb button, and I don't have any issues with noise or any of that stuff. Most of the time the ducks are way up there, and if you get a little inadvertent click or something, it's not that big a deal. On the reel, I have this attached. You might be wondering why, and that's because I do hunt out of a kayak, and if this falls in the water, bloop, it's gone. It's not gone. I mean, you can still, get your decoys and get your line and pull it back up, but it's a big pain in the butt. So I just have this attached to something on my kayak, and then that way if it falls over, it's not going in the water. You could use a carabiner or whatever, but if you're hunting out of a blind, you probably don't need anything. You just set this down. And it also allows, when I'm sitting in the kayak and I'm running this and I'm ready to pick up my gun and shoot, I can just drop this in my lap and it doesn't fall to the floor and go clunk, 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 so it's another thing that helps. Those are all the pieces. Now I will show you guys how to change the line out, and then you just drill 2 holes in the bracket that comes on it for the little hangers, but I'll show you guys that also. Alright, so for replacing the line in the reel, obviously you're going to need the reel. You can buy it from me, the link below, that'd be great. But you don't need to. This is a smaller reel than the one I showed you on the rig, so I really like that. It takes up less room, it's a little less visible, but it comes with this white cord on it. So what you need to do, and these are the tools you're going to need, is just take all of this line off the reel, and it's quite a lot. 40 feet, so you get to the end, you'll feel it stop. Alright, so if you look down in the hole, I don't know if you guys can see it on the camera, but I can see it. If you pull it out too far, it doesn't want to retract. It's kind of like you're overdoing the spring. So just pull it out till there's a couple of coils left. You really don't need the full 40 feet of movement. So, I mean, just take off 20, 30 feet of it. Take you some vice grips and clamp that on, because once you cut this, if that retracts back in and you've already cut it, it'll retract, and then you'll be screwed. You can't get it back out very easily. So again, I leave, it looks like there's about 6 coils left on the reel. Just plenty. Clamp that down, and then leave you something to work with. So 6 inches. So cut that off, and now you have your paracord. I've got 100 feet of paracord, so I should have plenty. And what I do is I just put them side by side like this, and I take this nylon thread and I just tie it, I tie one end and then wrap it really as tight as I can, and then hit it with some super glue. Before I do that, I like to put these little shrink wrap tubes on there, just because it gives a little more, something to hold it together. I don't plan on ever pulling this all the way out to this point anyway, and as long as it's got a few wraps on it, it won't break apart. There's not a lot of tension on this joint, but that's how you do it. And now I'll just time lapse it or something to show you guys how I do it. I don't know, 5-6 feet. Cut that and then wrap it around those 2 joints. All right, so I have this wrapped up pretty good. I'm just gonna take some super glue, put a few drops on there, on all the thread, all the way down, and that should lock it together plenty good enough. Now I will slip this over the two. Whoop, don't want to let that go yet. Turn that down. There, that should never come apart with normal use. Okay, so now release your vice grips and then just let it go back in, and just let it go back in until, I mean, I have 100 feet of paracord, so I'm just going to let it go until it doesn't want to suck any more in. And that way I know I've got enough on the reel. All right, so that's pretty much, it's full, and now it's slack. It won't pull any more in. So I will pull a little bit out because I want a little bit of tension on it just to keep my carabiner snug when it's not in use. So pull it out a foot, clamp it off again. I'm gonna tighten that up a little. Now it's not going to go anywhere. Clip me off enough to be able to tie my carabiner. Go get my carabiner. These are just cheap carabiners. They're not like heavy load or anything, because it's it's just pulling some decoys. So and then just tie whatever your favorite knot is. I'll just do a little figure 8 for now and see how that works. Yeah, that'll work just fine. So a little figure 8 knot. And then you can cut the tag end off, melt that so it doesn't fray on you, and it locks the little knot in place. Cool. All right, and then you let that go, and there you go. The line is replaced, plenty of strong to pull your decoys back in. Just like that. Hopefully that turned out on the video, as I can't redo it. Alright, so now we're ready to drill our holes in this bracket to put the little clamps, the EMT clamps on. It has 2 holes in it already, but they're slotted holes and they're offset. So if you were to put those on your bar, your retriever would sit at an angle, and it would probably work just fine, but I don't want that. So I'm going to measure to find the center. It looks like it's about 1.25 inches. So I'm going to mark it at, what is that, 1/2 and 1/8, so 5/8. There, and then I want 2 holes. So I mark one towards the top, one towards the bottom. Whoop, wrong one. 5/8. All right, so now we need to figure out how far from the edge we can drill a 1/4 inch hole without being too close to that. So looks like 3/4 inch that away. Looks about right. And I might as well try and match it or put it, wherever it's fattest. So it looks like probably closer to 1/2 inch on the bottom one. But if you guys do it, you can do it wherever you like. Might have to go 3/8 here, so just to stay far away from that edge there. So I'm going to go ahead and tap this so that my drill bit can start without walking all over. And find this one. There we go. So right in the center, but they're kind of offset just to get around these holes. The other one didn't have this issue because the bracket was a little bigger. Whoop. Now we're going to drill the hole. 1/2 inch long 1/4 20 screws. They have a screwdriver head on one side. So I'm going to thread those through. Like that. And you take your clamp, you put it on, and then I have some nylock nuts, 1/4 20 nylocks, and that'll keep it from ever working itself loose. So get that started with your fingers. All right, once that's started by hand, then you can go ahead and crank it down with your socket and screwdriver until it's nice and snug, and then rotate that to where it's straight up and down, where, you know, the orientation that the pole is going to be, and then make it nice and tight. Just like that. Now you take your carriage bolt, put it back in, and on the other side you put your wing nut. And you just do that for the bottom one, the same thing for the bottom one. Just like that. And as you can see, I've already painted all of the parts black. I go ahead and paint everything black or camo or whatever you want, and then you're ready to go.